everybody. I wanted to make one last video for the school year. This is for seniors. I mean, obviously, if you're in a different class, you can watch it too. But in Senior Foods, we make bread bowl salads, and it's one of the recipes that, well, it's not really a recipe even, but anyways, one of the things that we make that everyone, when I tell them we're gonna make it, they're always like, whatever. And then after we make them, everyone's like, this is the best lab we did all quarter. And then at the end of the quarter, when we do reflections, they always say my favorite was bread bowl salads. And so I wanted to show you guys how to do this in case you want to attempt it at home. If you don't, it's not a big deal, but I felt like this is one thing you're missing out on that everyone really likes, and so I wanted to share it with you. So what I'm doing right now is I have a piece of bread dough in my hands, and I'm just working with it, letting gravity kind of pull it and break up the gluten that's in there so that it stretches out and I can put it over my bowl. So let me tell you what I'm working with. So this was a loaf of frozen bread dough. The brand is called Rhodes, and it's in the freezer department at the grocery stores. And we use it for these bread bowl salads. It's a convenience food. It's already made bread dough. It's a really nice dough to work with. It's pretty easy. Doesn't have the cleanest of ingredients, but it's a good substitute if you don't have time to make bread yourself, but you want fresh bread. So what you have to do is take a loaf out of the freezer a day before you're going to use it so that it can thaw out. And you don't want to let it sit on the counter. One time I forgot about dough that I had sitting out, and it, that's my oven preheating. It rose overnight and like erupted out of the bags, and it was a pretty big mess. But, so you put it in the fridge overnight, and then the next day you can work with it. At school, I would take the loaf and cut it into 4 pieces, and then each kid in a lab group would get their own chunk of dough to make their own bread bowl out of. And then once they go in the oven, then we would all divide up the ingredients for the salad bar, and the whole class would make a big salad bar where you could fill your bowl with whatever you wanted for your salad. So that's kind of what I'm going to do tonight, just on a smaller scale. I'll show you how to do the bread bowl and then go from there. So I've stretched out my dough. It is pretty good. Sometimes the dough, if you don't work with it long enough, you didn't see the whole time that I was doing this. It took a little longer than what my video was. The gluten, it will like scrunch back up again after you set it down. And when that happens, that means you haven't broken up the gluten enough. So you need to work with it a little bit more to break up that gluten so that when you bake it, it doesn't like pile up into a big ball of dough. Then you need something to bake it over so it makes a bowl shape. I should just move this up so I don't have to crouch over. Then you need something to bake it over so it makes a bowl shape so you can fill it. So what I have here is a Pyrex mixing bowl. On the bottom, you have to read to see if it's safe to go in the oven. You can't just put any old glass container in the oven. It will break, and then you'll have broken glass and shards of it in your bread, and that's not great. So this one says microwave safe. It says no broiler and no stovetop. So for me, I know that I can put that in the oven. So this is the one that I'm going to use to shape my bread bowl. At school, we have little metal pie plates that we use, or we use bowls like this. The other thing I have here, this is like a food storage container. It's made by Anchor, not Pyrex, but Anchor Hocking, I think it's called. But it's the same sort of idea. Again, on the bottom, it says no stovetop, no broiler, and microwave safe. So for me, I'm going to say that I would maybe put that in the oven. The other thing you could use, and we use these, should have had this out. At school, we have like bigger versions of these, but this is a glass measuring cup. And it's made by Anchor Hocking again, so it's the same sort of material that I feel is oven safe, especially at the temperature we're going to bake it at. So you could drape the dough around this. Obviously, this one is just a 1-cup one, so it's kind of small. That would be a little bread bowl. But if you have a larger size of this at home, you could do that. My larger one is plastic, so I'm not putting that in the oven. So those are the containers that you would put your bread over to shape it. So what you're going to do when you have your container, you're just going to spray the backside with the cooking spray. think I just got that all over my kitchen. Spray the back side so that it doesn't stick to that. And then you're going to take your dough and you're just going to drape it over your bowl and sort of stretch it out. The thinner you make it, the crispier the bread will be. Let me take this down. Let's see what I'm doing. The lighting in here isn't great. There we go, that's a little better. So I just draped it over, and then I'm pinching any holes that come up, trying to seal those up, and then making sure the dough stretches down to the bottom of the bowl. You want to make sure that you don't like wrap the dough around the edge because it will bake in there and that won't be good either. I'm just going to kind of push mine up a little bit so I get a little bit of a crust or like a thicker edge at the top. Oop. And then this is going to be what goes in the oven. Now, if you're making a bunch of these, you can make several and put them all on one sheet. And then the cookie sheet is what helps you get it in and out of the oven safely. This is going to go in for about 20 minutes at 350. And then I'll take it out and let it cool a little bit before I fill it with my salad. Okay, so while the bread bowl is baking, I cut up a bunch of veggies. So here I have some that I'm going to put in my salad. Cucumber, carrot, and red pepper. I keep them in this container because I'm going to use some in my salad tonight, and then the rest are going to stay cut up in here, and then when I make a salad again later this week, I'll have them all cut up, and I'll just take what I want out of there. I'm also going to put some tomato in my salad, but I'm a firm believer that tomatoes have the best flavor when they're at room temperature, so I'm not going to cut up more of these than I'm going to use tonight because I don't want to leave them in the fridge because I don't think the flavor is that great when they're cold. The other problem is it's not a great time of year for tomatoes, and so the flavor is already not ideal, so I'm going to cut that up separately and try to maintain as much natural flavor from it as I can. I'm also going to probably salt it before I put it in my salad just because it helps bring a little bit more of the flavor out. So I'm going to have tomato in it. The other thing I'm going to add are these marinated onions. They're a red onion that I slice really thin on my mandolin, and then I marinate them in some avocado oil, some, red wine vinegar, and some oregano. These I got the recipe from this lady named Terry Turner. She wrote this amazing book called No Crumbs Left. And I follow her on Instagram, and she just has all kinds of great food and really great flavor and really healthy. Well, most of it's really healthy. We all have to have some unhealthy stuff once in a while. But I just want to point out that cookbook because I have bought a lot of cookbooks in my life, and that cookbook is the only one I don't regret buying. I use it over and over. There's a million recipes in there that I love. If you want to try the marinated onions, I know she has this recipe online, so you don't have to actually buy the book. My bread bowl is done. You don't actually have to buy the book to get the recipe. So that's out there online. This is the romaine lettuce that I'm going to use for my salad. If you look, I cut the bottom off of the romaine and I stood it in this jar of water and I stuck it in the fridge to try and keep it as long as possible. You'll notice, well, this one's not great, but the rest of the leaves are still, this is about a week old. It's probably a week and a half old if I'm being honest with you. So there are a few bits that are brown that I might have to cut off, but this is going to help maintain it a little bit longer, just giving it that water and the chance to suck that water up in there. So that's going to be the base of my salad. I also cooked some chicken on the, some chicken on the stove, so I'll have chicken in there and I'll probably grate some cheese as well. I am going to make a salad dressing. A lot of them have tons of sugar in them and I don't like that. And a lot of them don't have ingredients I don't like, so I like to control what I'm putting in it. And it's pretty easy to make, so I thought I would just show you quick what I do. Sometimes I'll buy like a ranch if I'm really in the mood for it, because ranch is a little bit tedious with the herbs that are in it, and it does need to sit for a while for the flavors to come together. If you did that chicken nugget recipe, that was the challenge recipe for Senior Foods, there is a homemade ranch in there that's really, really good. But like I said, you have to plan ahead for it, and I don't plan that far ahead. So what I'm gonna do for my salad dressing, I just put some stuff in a mason jar and I shake it up and that makes dressing. So I'm using some mayonnaise. I really like the Sir Kensington brand. I really prefer avocado oils in the things that I eat and make. So I use a lot of avocado oil when I cook. You might have noticed that if you watched more videos. So this is made with avocado oil. It has no avocado flavor. I don't want you to think that if you buy the avocado oil kind, it's going to have an avocado flavor. Certainly not the case. It's just a better oil for us to be consuming, in my personal opinion. So I just put a couple scoops of mayonnaise in there. I'm going to do a little bit of balsamic. And then I'm going to do the juice of one lemon. Half a lemon, I'm sorry. The lemon was in the fridge. If I had let it out, it would be easier to juice. You get more juice out of them when they're at room temperature. But this one is, ooh, going everywhere. Good enough for what I need. Okay. And then a little dash of salt for my little salt cellar. Put that in. And then I'm going to do a bit of garlic. Let's see what I have. Ooh, that one's bad. Good thing that wasn't on camera. Okay. So this is a nice, decent sized clove. It's a pretty big one. And I'm just going to crush that right into my jar. And then I just bought these, oh shoot, I should have taken that out. I just have these plastic lids that go on top of my wide mouth jars. If you don't have a lid like this lid right here will fit on the normal size. Do I have a normal? So if you wanted to save these, this fits on the normal size, not wide mouth jar perfectly. So you could save those when you're recycling, so you have some plastic lids just to go on jars if you wanted. A little side note there. So here's all my dressing ingredients. It looks pretty gross right now, but I'm just gonna shake it up. And there I have my salad dressing. It's a nice creamy, balsamic-y, garlicky dressing. It's a little bit runny. If you want it a little thicker, you could add some more mayonnaise to it, but I don't mind it runny. I feel like it distributes the flavor without adding too much mayonnaise to the salad. So I'll put that on top of my salad when I'm done. Okay.